From the first stories told in firelit caves to the electronically recorded messages of deep space, we leave the 20th century with no regrets. Time bends, space is boundless, and when humanity gasps its last, all that will remain, if anything, will be the theater of tomorrow.
A cruise ship is docked between the Earth and the Moon. A ship so complex in its design and concept that everyone who understood it believed perhaps God was conceit. Everyone who built it, though, knew better. They knew they were God. They had built a ship that somehow would take them all into the very distant future. Then, after making a few adjustments, they could travel again to the same time and place, but reality would be affected totally. The true marvel, and perhaps the reason that the engineers were truly God, is after seeing all the different possible futures for us and Earth, after all the awe and celebration in Bovahi, everyone on board would get to vote on which future fate, which end, humanity would finally meet. Passengers have finally boarded the ship. Drunk and laughing already. If anyone has a thought to humility, no one voices it. The cruise ship is filled, crew and complement somehow not fully aware of the weight of what follows. Most are here legitimately. Some wealthy and powerful, the rest are not. A few have cheated fate for the chance to change it. 2 sisters snuck aboard just for a story to tell. One family wasn't quite rich enough to buy passage, but knew enough to trade secrets for a cabin. At least one steward was killed so another could assume his role. But no one will ever know who. It is a one-time voyage. The ship will sail for a week and return home to applause and obscene opulence. The consequences of the trip will be well documented and unchangeable. Champagne flows, pictures are taken that will dust over in history books for centuries. The captain makes a speech in the largest ballroom opening and closes with a joke. Both are met with laughter undeserved. At the final end of an order, the crew shovels fuel and pushes the controls with youthful vigor. The maiden and final voyage of humanity's only time ship begins with a burst, a jolt, and a bleary-eyed mechanical sigh. The first end they visit is all spectacle. Flash and lava, eye candy, and exhilaration. The perfect way to start off a grisly task with a grin and a wink. The ship travels farther and faster than any human effort before or since, and arrives at the same port it left behind. Soul is burning hotter and heavier than it ever has or ever will. On screens and portholes throughout the ship, fat and sweaty faces hungrily take in what Earth will look like millennia from now. Unrecognizable. Dinosauria or some impossible descendants once again have domain. Agile mountain creatures, slow, dull-eyed swamp giants, all gnashing and howling in chaos. The children squeal in the conditioned air, not comprehending. The adults laugh again. This first end, this fate for humanity and Earth itself is clearly an amusement. Surely every child aboard will vote, whatever other ends they see for this fantastic fate. Yes, even the children get to vote on this cruise. This cruise will decide the ultimate fate for us and our planet. Everyone votes. The second end they travel to is inversely disappointing. There's nothing. Everywhere. No life. Not even what's left of the seas. No rubble of dead, dark cities, no plants, no mountains. Just dust and sand, in a wind that screams so silencively that you can almost hear it without instruments, the captain claims. The only remarkable feature of this end is how almost uniformly unremarkable it is. Colder at the poles and warmer at the equator. but it is agreed upon by passenger and crew alike that there is little need to spend the full day here. Drinks and dinner are served early, and the band only plays up-tempo tunes in the ballrooms to keep the spirits high and hopeful. The third end finally gives the people what they want. Earth has become peopled by beings who look horrifying. Each description by the passengers is varied, and very soon it becomes an amusement of descriptive one-upmanship. The captain, not a very imaginative woman, describes them simply as algae monsters, possibly with sticks for bones, dressed as common men and women. What hooks into everyone's excited cham and conversation is that they appear to be living side by side with humans, commingling as friends and neighbors. Everyone, human or algae, is dressed and living anachronistically. The clothes, the buildings, the vices, the customs, all very clearly coded as démodé, nearly on the cusp of being ancient. When the Terminator crosses day into night, quietly and quizzically, every human man, woman, and child steps naked out of their homes, and the algae creatures in full dress and hats consumes the last of humanity. The images are disturbing to the children, and the adults are now more confused than when they had arrived. Take your notes to dinner with you tonight. Converse easily with your shipmates, but make certain to have some conclusion by the time you're having coffee. Who knows what tomorrow's end will be? The next days are evocative and boring. An end where Earth is covered in salinated seas and populated by hulking creatures and minusculing swarms, with almost no beasts in between. There is an end that is possibly pure peace. What's left of humanity on what is left of Earth is plugged into a vast computer powered by the heat of the core. Excitement and chatter ripples through the full complement when the ship roars to a stop at a potential end where Earth is absent entirely. She has almost no reaction to the velvet darkness where everything she knew once lay, until she hears the laughter. Every passenger on board thinks it's the highest end of hilarity that the entire planet has been misplaced. The captain begins to sweat silently. By the end of the 6th day, after an end whence Earth had long ago entered into a union of solar systems, and humanity had moved long past her mother planet, and it was unceremoniously swallowed by the sun, she considers the full scope of their selfish task. It is too big. Everything they are doing, it is overwhelming. She can't quite grasp it, can't put it into words, but something is there. Inside her, surrounding her, making it difficult to breathe. It's not quite that it's wrong, but everyone is reacting wrong. It isn't fear she's feeling, but some ancestral feeling. Something that fear has evolved from. Something old. Something the first humans might have felt when they looked at the moon. The captain isn't watching this final end, their last stop. She is looking at the laughing, decadent faces of the passengers. The uncomprehending children, the flirting men, the glass-eyed women, none of them really seeing what is happening. After taking the ship on a tour of this reality, seeing what could become of our universal history and what punctuating mark might come, the captain orders a return home. There is a grand party on every deck. The press is present now and interviewing the more charismatic or famous of the passengers, trying to get whatever drunken descriptions they can give of the fantastic futures they have seen. The time comes and the captain rings the ship's bell. She gives no interviews and makes no speeches. She watches from the bridge as everyone laughs and dances and drinks. And when the bell rings, everyone gets out their voting devices. How quickly they turn the knobs, barely giving it half a thought. She sees the children asking their parents how to vote, and often just cranking it up to a random point on the dial. With tears in her eyes that she doesn't understand, she picks up her dial and makes her choice. She no longer wants the responsibility, doesn't want to be on the jury which decides how billions will live or die. But she is the captain. She has to decide. Everyone votes.
Tonight's production was a work of fiction produced entirely for the theater of tomorrow.